And I don't want to be working in ballet or opera or, you know, things where it's like, hey, keep this thing alive, even though no one cares about this anymore. All respect to the ballet and opera people out there. I just lost 14 cents in viewership, but damn, I just took shots for no reason.
Timothée Chalamet has upset a lot of people. I don't think he realized just how big this was going to get. I mean, that's what happens when you come for arguably one of the most dramatic forms of work, ballet and opera. And I say this as a fan. I like Timothée Chalamet since he did Little Women. I've been a fan for years, and as someone who loves ballet, I mean, my whole account is literally about ballet. I thought we could go through what people have been saying, and I know this came out a while ago, but I just really wanted to take the time and see how it would sit with everyone. So today we're going to go through people's thoughts, their opinions, comments, and I will share a little bit about my thoughts throughout the video.
Timothy, if ballet and opera were things that people are just trying to keep alive that nobody cares about, the tickets to go see those things would be very cheap because, as you claim, they're just trying to get anyone to come see it because it's a dying art, right? It is significantly cheaper to go to AMC and see one of your shitty movies than it is to secure any spot in the audience to see a ballet performance or an opera show. It is so much more cheaper. The average person can go see your fucking movie.
Now, I get what point she's trying to make is that people are spending money to go and see ballet because they see value in it. But I think the issue with this take is that it kind of feeds into what Timothy was talking about, that it's not mainstream, it's not accessible. So yeah, a lot of people can't afford to go to ballets. So they will opt for the next best thing, which is going to a cheaper cinema. I do get what she's trying to say though, but let's watch the rest of the video.
But not the average person can go see the New York City Ballet's ballet performance or a beautiful opera. Okay, it requires a lot of saving up because it's a valued art. And acting's a valued art, but it's not any fucking better than ballet or opera. And I need all these ballet companies to shut up and stop trying to get Timothy to come to your studio and meet your dancers and have him try to expose him to being don't you see, Timothy, ballet is really great.
Okay, we're gonna get into how ballet companies have reacted to this, but based on what she said, I don't think it's, to me at least, it's not coming across well. It does come across as ballet's only for the elite, ballet's only for people who meet a certain tax bracket and you're too poor and I have to go to the cinemas. Again, I get what she's trying to say, that people value ballet and the opera so much that they are willing to take the time to save their money in order to go, which is something else we'll talk about, because I do feel like there is something about how ballet is perceived in terms of who's allowed to go and who it's for. And I just don't think her take helps the narrative around elitism in ballet. But I get what she's trying to say. I do see her point of view, but in the light of things, I feel like it just makes Timothy's point more valid.
No one does care about ballet or opera, and that is a hyperbolic way to say it. I wish that Timothée Chalamet said it in a different way, but everyone who works in these fields understands that no one cares, that you are fighting uphill because no one cares. You don't even probably care. You probably just don't like Timothée Chalamet, or you're on the train of whatever this conversation is, but you probably don't even really care. You don't know who makes this work or what it's about, the artists, their names, where they come from, what institutions they belong to, what those institutions are. You don't visit them regularly or patronize them on a consistent basis. You don't even really care. Everyone who works in these fields knows that the subscriber bases are dying. The audience is dying.
I love ballet, right? And I don't like what Timothée Chalamet said. What this guy is saying, he's not wrong. There are many people in the ballet industry who openly say this art form is dying. They have to fight to keep it alive. And I feel like personally, people have been saying ballet is a dying art form for 100 years. Is it still dying? I don't get it. But there is this constant narrative that ballet and opera, I know more about ballet than opera, that it's dying, that we need to keep this thing alive, and people making comments about how the Nutcracker is the only thing that's keeping studios open, and that people who seem to care about ballet aren't actually investing in ballet. like what this guy is talking about here.
That's not a figure of speech. It's not a metaphor. They are literally geriatric and dying. It's one of the first things that you learn as a contemporary artist in the fine arts space is that they are scrambling to find young people to replace their subscriber base, which is why you, in your echo chamber, being in the creative capital of America, New York City, get to go to one of the oldest ballet or opera institutions in the country and go see something for $35. Because they are hemorrhaging money. The Metropolitan Opera just signed a 5-year deal with Saudi Arabia so that they can get out of the financial hole that they're in. And there's two things about that. The Metropolitan Opera is one of the most prestigious and longest standing institutions in the country. That's one, that they're struggling. And two, is that you probably didn't hear about that until I just told you, because you don't know anything about the Metropolitan Opera, because you probably don't fucking care, because no one cares. Because no one cares. And no one who works in these spaces is confused about the fact that no one fucking cares. It's actually one of the central obstacles to getting the work done, is the acknowledgement that no one cares and you have to make them. These are multi-million-dollar productions. These are...
Okay, he kind of ate me up. I did not know that about the Metropolitan Art, whatever thingamabob it's called. I had no idea. There is something about the industry struggling to stay afloat because people don't care enough. I'm putting that in speech marks because if anything, this outburst has showed us that people do care. And do they care enough to save companies from having to outsource funding? I feel like this might be specifically an American situation. I know that in Europe, at least, there is more help around government involvement in the arts. Like, it is seen as a protected form that the government is very much heavily invested in. Whereas in America, I feel like that's not the case. Again, I'm not that well versed. I'm not a journalist. I'm not here to spill facts. I'm just giving you my opinion and sharing other people's opinions, okay? It's not that deep. Don't crucify me like Timothy.
Are it like prestigious historic institutions worth hundreds of millions of dollars, begging people to support them, begging people to patronize them, promoting themselves like indie films or like independent unsigned SoundCloud artists. Support your local, support your local this. We got to keep the doors open. And it's the goddamn Met. That's the truth of like the economic and industrial position that these institutions and that this art is in. It's not about whether the art itself is good or valuable or merited. I don't think that that's even close to what Timothée Chalamet, who started out in the theater and has family who has done ballet and done up, I don't think that that's what he was trying to argue. I think the reality is...
Oh, yeah. And I think people are really upset about this because he has family in ballet, like his grandmother, his mum and his sister. And I think what this guy's trying to say is seeing Timothy's comments from a different point of view, because I personally feel like he was very dismissive when it came to ballet and opera, and I think his comments were unnecessary. And I like the nuance of what this guy's trying to say, seeing it from the perspective of, oh no, he's not bashing these industries, but more so he's acknowledging the reality of where these industries are headed and what their current struggles are.
A woman on here defending Timothée Chalamet made a video like, name 10 operas, and I, probably similarly to the 80,000 other people that liked that video, couldn't name even 3. And I was like, maybe Timothée Chalamet was right. Does nobody care about opera? And then I saw a comment that was like, okay, name 10 Shakespeare plays. Just because you can't name 10 doesn't mean that nobody cares about Shakespeare. And also, I'm thinking, like, if I asked people, like, name 3 Toni Morrison books, and they couldn't, I wouldn't be like, nobody cares about Toni Morrison. So I guess this video is really just about not taking TikToks at face value, because it really is, no one ever talks about how easy it is to just, like, agree with, like, a TikTok that you see. And when you see it, like, in its own vacuum, but then you start seeing the critiques. And I was wondering, you know, I want every Ola to be a project about, you know, coming together as a community, as really thinking about...
I think that's where the frustration is coming from. I've seen so many comments, and we'll get into the comments, but people have really been saying, oh, name 10 operas, name 10 ballets, that's not the Nutcracker. And the thing is, popularity does not equate to cultural significance. There is something confusing about this because we need to keep this art form alive. And it shouldn't be a bad thing to want to keep it alive. But keeping it alive means that you're acknowledging that it's dying or that things aren't looking as good as they were before. And I'm really happy with what he said about this, because like popularity changes all the time. Like, if you think about the biggest pop stars 50 years ago, the biggest pop stars 5 years ago, it's constantly changing. The one thing that has been a consistent, significant, pivotal moment is ballet and opera. And I think what he was talking about with TikTok and social media is that we are so fixated on what's the big thing now, what's the flashy thing now. Think back to lockdown. Everybody was going back to the arts, whether it was books, whether it was watching movies or TV shows, whether it was picking up a hobby. That's literally how I started ballet. I went back after lockdown because it made me realize that these are the things that I value. Does that mean I can't enjoy something because it's not the mainstream? No. Does it mean that because something isn't widely known by every single little individual person? No. People know ballet, people know opera, but maybe they don't know it as well as they know Marvel movies. But that doesn't take away its historical, cultural significance.
The funniest thing about the Timothée Chalamet ballet discourse is that it's a perfect example about how Nuance is dead. If you watch the entire clip and not just the 9 seconds that went viral online, you'd see that he wasn't insulting ballet. He was saying that he hopes that cinema doesn't become something that survives on institutional guilt and life support. Which, like, look around. AI is an institutional...
Okay, I have not watched the full interview, and to be honest with you, I don't really care to. I am basing it off the 9-10 second clip that everyone's raging on about. I will give her that. I've not watched the full interview, and I think a lot of people haven't watched it either.
Threat to almost every single art form. Not to mention, there are perfectly normal reasons why an actor should be concerned about the future of cinema, especially when it comes to big mergers. And while everybody is up in arms about this, nobody was up in arms about how Misty Copeland, who was America's most famous ballerina, was buying drugstore foundation to paint her point shoes because they wouldn't sell them in her skin tone. If you care about art and its institutions, you would show up for it year-round, not just when you need to be mad at someone.
She is eating us up. Okay, I say us, not me, because I do support ballet in other ways. But like, I think what she's talking about is the outrage doesn't match actions that bring the change that people who are outraged want. I mean, you've seen this explode, and there is something about, are we focus on the right thing? We talk about how much we love ballet. Everyone's suddenly an opera and ballet fan. And I'm going to be so honest with you. Apart from my circle, like the adult ballet dancers, I don't know anyone who enjoys ballet outside of that group of people. I don't really agree fully with what Timothy was saying. I think it was very disrespectful and rude. And ballet isn't mainstream. It's just not. And something doesn't have to be mainstream to be relevant or powerful. But I bet you if I went to my neighbors and asked them, oh, like, what's your favorite ballet? Or when was the last time you saw an opera? I would be very surprised if they were to give me an actual answer. But I know that if I went and asked them, what's the most recent movie you watched? Or how long ago did you watch a movie? That would tell me more about what is relevant in the everyday person's life. And it does feel like ballet and opera isn't. Honestly, all the opinions I've seen about this are hating on Timothée Chalamet. Again, I agree. His comments were distasteful. I'm going to get into that. But I also think it's important to see the other side of it. There is nuance here in what he's saying. Yes, he said it in a very uninformed and disrespectful manner, but it doesn't take away from certain parts of what he was saying, which could actually be truthful.
The whole Timothée Chalamet drama with the ballet and opera is so elementary and telling where our culture is at. People just want a punching bag. They wake up and genuinely hope that some celebrity said something that was slightly controversial so then they could play the moral high ground card and just bitch about it. What do you think is going to happen when you ask these people to comment on something more serious? Why on earth would they ever want to do it if you eat them alive for something as small as saying that ballet is a dying art?
Yes, the internet had an extreme reaction. But Timothy said extreme things. Like, this is the thing, right? I don't think it's fair to attack somebody for having an opinion. But if how you conduct your opinion is disrespectful, don't be surprised when people give that disrespect back. Yes, it's true. Celebrities, we want them to be more open and honest and not hide behind like a facade or a persona. But if we want them to be more open and honest, we need to allow them to make opinions and have opinions that we don't agree with. But that also means they need to communicate those opinions in a respectful manner. Because I imagine if you just tweet the language, the wording, the phrasing, even as like body language and the overall essence of what he was bringing to that conversation, if that had been tweaked, I don't think the reaction would have been as strong. He would have pissed off some people for sure, but not to this degree. I think most people's frustrations comes with the disrespectful language, and I agree with that.
Less than 100 years, when AI has largely gutted film and television because people like Matthew McConaughey in this moment wanted to make a quick buck, there will be something else going on. What's going to happen is when it comes to entertainment,
Damn, not the shade.
The digital world in general will be largely irrelevant and useless. Spaces like this will become completely filled with AI creators. There will be AI slop content. There will be misinformation. There will be deep fakes everywhere. People will not know what is real, what is not. And
We are already seeing. It's so scary, honestly.
in response, I think people are simply going to step away. The moment might feel a bit surreal and overwhelming, but in that moment, people will turn to their communities. People will be looking for stuff that is tangible, and they will turn to real human art and expression. They will turn to theater. They will turn to opera. They will turn to live music, whether that be local or stuff like an orchestra. They will turn to ballet. They will turn to the arts that they can see and touch and feel, stuff that's right in front of them and human.
He's so right. Because I did see more clips of Timothée Chalamet's interview with Matthew McConaughey, and it seems like they started off talking about how difficult it is to keep people's attention span going just because of the world we live in and social media and AI, and sometimes that can compromise the quality of the art that you're providing, and you feel like you're stuck trying to chase people's attention and keep them engaged. But the irony of that is ballet and operas keep people engaged without all the extra fluff that movies and TV shows have to rely on. Think about it. Ballets and operas are 2 to 3 hours long, some even 4. I'm looking at you, Sleeping Beauty. That is a long time. You're not on your phone, because it's highly encouraged not to be, and you will be side-eyed if you do go on your phone. But no one's talking, and they're singing in a language that most of us can't really understand. Think about ballet. There's no speech at all. It's just the music and it's people moving and dancing. It's such a low stimulus activity. And guess what? People are going, people are showing up. It's the exact opposite of what Timothée Chalamet was talking about at the beginning. Like, oh, how do I find a way to like keep people engaged in this fast-paced society? Ballet and opera are the things people are going to go to when AI does fully take over, when it does start to like bring this fatigue. And we're already seeing that people are upset and questioning, is this AI? Is this real? Especially when it comes to art. I will not be surprised if one day there is an AI movie. I think we've all seen those like AI fruit cheating videos. I know I have. That's going to get boring. That's going to feel inauthentic and dystopian to a point where people are going to return to the arts. I had to pop out, I hope. The angle hasn't changed too much, but let's continue. Ballet has survived wars, it has survived famines, it survived all the most horrifying parts of life, and it's still here. And that's what I mean when I said people have been saying ballet is a dying art form for like 100 years now. So how much of it is dying if it's always dying? It doesn't make any sense to me in that way. Even if we can acknowledge parts of where ballet does struggle, I don't think is at a point of being lost or forgotten about or completely erased from society. It's just too relevant to history, to culture, and the foundation of so many art forms that we love today.
Because my fiance is in the Philadelphia Ballet. Before I met her, I really didn't know much about it. I grew up loving film, loving sports, loving stuff like theater and musicals and all that. I loved the arts, but I never really got into ballet. The things I found most confusing about this clip is Timothée Chalamet went to LaGuardia High School in New York City for the arts. Acting, dance, singing, photography, sculpture, architecture, anything you can possibly think of. It becomes more baffling when you understand Chalamet's mother was a trained ballerina who used her skill as a dancer to make it to Broadway.
I'm so curious as to what his family think of his comments, because like, I don't know how I'd feel if my child made such disrespectful comments about my career. And the thing about art is that it's so tied to your identity. It's so tied to what you value, who you are. You are not just somebody who likes to do ballet. You are a ballet dancer. You're not just somebody who loves to perform in an opera. You are an opera singer. It's so tightly wound to your identity, and I'm really curious about that. And also his educational background in the arts. I think that's where a lot of people are also really shocked, is that he speaks as if he's not had any exposure to how vital and beautiful certain art forms are. So for him to punch down on ballet and opera as something he would never do because who cares about it, it does leave a sour taste in my mouth and many other people's mouth. Because, like, you of all people should know better. Even if you have this opinion. Bro, my storage just, like, exploded for whatever reason, but it's fine now. That was really weird. Anyways, back to the topic of the video. It's quite long, so I'm just gonna like skim a few bits.
I find it odd to be so dismissive of arts that frankly take much more skill than acting. A Timothée Chalamet is much easier to find than someone who can do this or any of the top ballerinas in the world. Expressionism you see used to tell a story and to show emotion in ballet is the same expressionism we saw in silent fucking films. This was just theater. Timothée Chalamet's best films is Little Women, which was first adapted on Broadway. It was theater. When Sergei Eisenstein started his career, he started in theater. So when he's making stuff like Battleship Potemkin, which was groundbreaking at the time, I got to study this film extensively in a film class in college, he was using theatrical inspiration.
Exactly. This is the issue. Like, Timothée Chalamet is in an industry that has serious roots in ballet and opera and plays and theatres. And someone actually commented, I wish I screenshotted it, but they said, funny how he hasn't spoken about plays or Shakespeare, because arguably opera, ballet, Shakespeare plays all kind of fit in the same bubble, but he left that part out. Like, anyone, like, name top 10 Shakespeare plays. When was the last time the average person went to see a Shakespeare play? But he would not dare to say that about Shakespeare, even though you could argue it's in the same situation as ballet and opera. I don't know, that's very telling in my opinion. And there's a little bit more drama because some celebrities have spoken out about it, including Doja Cat.
Hey, by the way, opera is 400 years old. Ballet is 500 years old. Somebody named Timothée Chalamet had the nerve, big guy, by the way, had the nerve to say on camera that nobody cares about it. I'm sure you could walk into an opera theater right now, seats will be filled out, and nobody's saying a word as the performance is going because everybody has that much respect for it. There is an etiquette around opera. There is etiquette around ballet. It's amazing. It's an amazing theater medium. It's fucking beautiful. And people go there every day to the dance studio. Dancers show up 8 a.m., 6 a.m., whatever the fuck. They show up and they break and they bleed every single day just because they have respect for it. They love it. They love what they do. It doesn't matter if the industry is having a tough time at any time, which a lot of industries have a tough time. Your industry has a tough time. My industry has a tough time. Doesn't mean people don't care about it. People care. The dancers care. The singers care. The audience cares. There's still an audience. People give a fuck. You show up in a nice outfit, you sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up.
Did she lie? No. I agree with everything Doja Cat said, but this is where things get a little bit tricky.
Kylie Jenner has called out Doja Cat for her reaction to Timothée Chalamet's opera and ballet comments. The situation started after Timothée said on camera that nobody cares about opera and ballet anymore. Doja did not like this at all and decided to set the record straight during a live session with her fans. Doja said, hey, by the way, opera is 400 years old. Ballet is 500 years old. Somebody named Timothée had the nerve to say on camera that nobody cares about it. She explained that these theaters are still full of people who have a lot of respect for the performers. Doja mentioned that dancers show up as early as 6 a.m. and work because they love what they do so much. Doja said, it doesn't matter if the industry is having a tough time at any time, as a lot of industries have a tough time. Your industry has a tough time. My industry has a tough time. Doesn't mean people don't care about it. She told her fans that there is a special etiquette to these shows that people should learn from. She said, you show up in a nice outfit, you sit down and shut up. That's the usual etiquette around those things. Maybe learn something from that. And now Kylie has spoken out about Doja's video towards Timothée. Underneath a video about it, Kylie left a comment. In her comment, she wrote, calm down, LOL. She's clearly telling Doja to chill out and stop overreacting. This means she likely thinks the situation is not a big deal and that everyone should just move on. But before you go, I want to know, do you think Kylie was right to tell her to calm down?
Listen, I get it. That's her man. She needs to defend her guy, even when he's being wrong. But, like, of all the times somebody from Timothée Chalamet's circle has decided to reply, it's in response to Doja Cat. That's kind of weird, in my opinion. maybe because of her position, her standing, her fame, but like people have made and said worse things than Doja Cat. So I was a bit surprised. And following that, Doja Cat responded about her original statement and essentially retracted it.
So I realized that in the heat of the moment, which that just feels like I'm doing like an apology video. It's so funny. I am going to come out and just say that I know nothing about opera. I know nothing about ballet as far as like the years that I spent in my adolescence doing ballet, but in no way, shape, or form am I like a real professional dancer.
This is so funny. Like the apology video is so long. I'm not going to go through all of it, but technically it's not an apology video, but like it's super long. I'm not going to get into it, but I'm just like, what changed? And the comments on this video are so funny. They're like, Kris Jenner called, or like, she definitely got the call. It's okay, Doja Cat, blink twice if you're safe. And that's just really funny. But I don't know, just all the things that Timothée Chalamet's bubble could have responded to, it was about Doja Cat's comment, which I don't think was that deep. Calm down. She wasn't shouting. She wasn't like, I don't know. But anyways, that's the situation with that. What's been more interesting are other people's comments on this. So we've got a range of celebrities and ballet performers and ballet companies, which has been stirring a lot of commentary.
When young Timothée Chalamet spoke about ballet and all of that, he was just mad at his mother that day. He was just mad at his sister that day. He was just mad at his aunt that day. He didn't mean what he says, because I know that boy has loved a few ballerinas. Yes, he has.
What is your favorite ballet or your favorite opera?
Oh my goodness, I've always loved the ballet of the Dance Theater of Harlem. The Dance Theater of Harlem always went above and beyond to show that the arts were not just for some people, but the arts were for all people.
That is so funny. Like, I love how she's shading him, but it's not clear that it's shade. It's like subtle, classy shade. That's really funny. And like, again, his mom, his sister, his grandmother, like what the hell is going on? We've got other people responding as well, like ballet companies. So this is what Royal Opera and Ballet posted on their social media.
And I don't want to be working in ballet or opera or, things where it's like, hey, keep this thing alive, even though no one cares about this.
I would say their response was a little bit more demure. It was a bit more subtle. Boston Ballet had a very interesting response, which I absolutely love.
And I don't want to be working in ballet or opera or, things where it's like, hey, keep this thing alive, even though no one cares about this anymore.
For the first time tonight, I thought and really realized that the movement of the body in and of itself is a piece of art.
It's my first time ever to see something like that. I come from Ireland and it was worth it. It's better than wrestling or boxing or any of that stuff.
It was striking. It brought us both.
Yeah, it brought us to tears. No words. It was just the best thing I ever seen.
I've seen mixed views about ballet companies and their response, and there are so many more. I don't want to go through all of it. Some people think it's fun, it's funny, it's lighthearted. I like it, but some people think it just proves his point that they need to use someone else's name to bring attention and awareness to their industry and their art form. But I don't think that's the case here. I think they're just playing around with somebody who offended their work. Like, what do you mean? And as someone who's gone to so many ballet performances, I can say with confidence that they're not easy to get. And every time I've gone, they're filled up. There's not an empty seat, I guarantee you that. And I actually recently got tickets to see Giselle next Wednesday, and even getting them was a nightmare. It feels like getting concert tickets at this point. So there is this like conflict of, oh yeah, it's a dying art form, but it's always packed. Well, whenever I've gone, it's packed. I don't know about everyone else, but that's just my opinion and what I've experienced. We're going to go through some of the comments that people have left on various videos. R.I.P. Timothée Chalamet, you would have hated Timothy Kardashian. I don't know how I feel about this. I've seen this coming up a lot. Like, oh, he's been spending too much time with the Kardashians, or like he's a Kardashian now. There's misogyny there for sure. What do you mean? His actions are the result of the people or the women that he's around. That's a bit like, it does feel misogynistic in my opinion, especially when the Kardashians have made it clear that they love the opera. Hello, you're forgetting the Andrea Bocelli fiasco where Kourtney Kardashian and Kim Kardashian had the same opera singer, Andrea Bocelli, perform at their wedding. Like, why do his opinions about ballet and opera relate to hanging out with the Kardashians? That just feels like, I get it's funny and it's lighthearted, but it's like, it's not what we're trying to get at here.
Editing Kai here. Something really weird happened with my audio and video. So I'm just gonna like have my audio as a voiceover because I don't know what on earth happened. Hopefully it doesn't throw you off too much. Thank you.
The way operas and ballets are constantly sold out, yet the cinemas are empty is all I needed to hear. This is kind of what I was saying. I've never gone to a ballet performance where the seats are empty. Of course, there's going to be like maybe a few empty seats, but not to the point where you think that it's a struggling industry. When I went to Germany, we went to see a ballet show, and that was a nightmare trying to get tickets. And we went to the box office because sometimes if you go, they can like give you better seats. There were none available because that's how busy and packed it was. There were only like a few seats left, but those are for accessibility seats, like wheelchair users and stuff like that. This is a completely different country, and I struggled to get tickets. Like, ballet places are not empty. When I've gone to cinemas, unless it's a huge box office movie, even then sometimes there are quite a few empty seats. Like, I've been able to get tickets an hour before a movie starts. Ballet, I've not been able to do that ever. Even Nutcracker, I'm buying that stuff 6 to 8 months in advance because of how quickly the seats go. Someone on Twitter said he's saying all that because he perceives ballet and opera as feminine. Spot on. I don't know Timothée Chalamet. I don't want to make comments on his character, but there is an association with ballet and opera as being feminine, female-dominated. So for him to pick those two industries and talk poorly on them and say that people don't care about it, it can reflect. It can. It doesn't always, but it can reflect how he views female-dominated art forms. Again, I don't know him. I don't know his inner workings. His female relatives were in ballet. So I'd hope he doesn't have this like misogynistic, sexist view. Didn't Kim just do a ballet launch with Skims too? Yeah, that's really awkward. The fact that him mentioning it is the most press they've had in years is exactly his point. Oh, okay. So I've seen quite a few comments like this about how people are proving his point because ballet has been so prominent in the press, in the news, on social media more than ever, or because of Timothée Chalamet. And I think that's where the double bind comes in, because if it wasn't for him making these comments, would people be talking about ballet this much? Would suddenly all these ballet lovers and community lovers of opera and ballet be as vocal about it now? Mad at him, but haven't supported a small ballet or local theatre in like ever. The only people who can keep it alive are the wealthy. I can't lie, this comment kind of ate everyone up about that. I miss when he was French and quiet. This comment makes me laugh because there's so many edits of like them clipping what he was saying, and then it transitions into like his art boy era, his indie era, like Little Women, Lady Bird, all of that stuff. And I think, okay, I don't know this man, obviously, but he was so performative. He was the ultimate performative final boss. Like, we think about performative male, blah, 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 blah. Timothée Chalamet was so performative, like, final boss. And it's just so funny seeing back to then and now how much has changed. And when he was in his, like, French, artsy, indie boy era, he had such a huge female fan base. We all know that one edit to, like, Melanie Martinez's song with him and Call Me By Your Name. And that Timothée Chalamet and this Timothée Chalamet, it just feels so different, and it's just really funny. What Timmy said wasn't wrong or right. It is his opinion, to which he has a right. The issue is actually the way he said it, and losing 14 cents in viewership, that was uncalled for. And I fully agree. I don't think he's wrong for having an opinion. He's allowed to think something is dying. He's allowed to think something isn't important. But the way he said it was just not necessary, in my opinion. We could have had such a better, more useful conversation than how he said it. The world is not America. I don't know that much about the structure of American ballet, even European ballet, even British ballet. I don't. But I have some knowledge that the way that ballet is supported in America is different to how ballet is supported in European countries. From my understanding, European ballet companies will like give them a proper salary and help with sick leave, maternity leave. I mean, those are already issues in America outside of the arts, but there is this thing of like, is this an American issue or is this a worldwide issue? I personally don't know. From my understanding, Europe does seem to have a more firm understanding of opera and ballet, which makes sense because that's where it came from. But again, I don't know if that means the average European or British person will have much knowledge on ballet or opera. This reaction makes me really sad. It's from Misty Copeland and she kind of speaks on about the situation. If you don't know Misty Copeland, it's a very renowned ballet dancer. She just left recently, actually. I think it was last year. And she had some comments to say about what Timothy said.
First, I have to say that it's very interesting that he invited me to be a part of promoting Marty Supreme with respect to my art form. But I think that it's important that we acknowledge that, yes, this is an art form that is not popular and a part of pop culture as movies are, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have enduring relevance in culture. And I think that it's often mistaken when something is popular that it's more meaningful or more impactful. And there's a reason that the opera and ballet have been around for over 400 years. And I think that when you have access and you have opportunity to be a part of something, it can change your life. And that's the work that I've been doing through the Misty Copeland Foundation. That's the work I've done my whole career, is to bring more people into it so that people do understand the importance and the relevance of it in our communities and in our culture. And you see it reflected everywhere. I mean, he wouldn't be an actor and have the opportunities he has as a movie star if it weren't for opera and ballet and their relevance in that mediums. All of these mediums have a space and we shouldn't be comparing them.
She genuinely sounds so hurt. I'm just like, oh my gosh, Misty Copeland, no. Like, she's so sweet. And as like, obviously a Black ballet dancer, I look up to her so much. And like, just hearing the comments, it's just like, she actually sounds so upset. Like, obviously, she's composed herself really well, but you can hear that it's personally affected her. And there is that like discrepancy between what he said and that he's also asked for her to be part of his premiering or whatever it was that she was talking about. And it's sad. Like, these are real people who are being affected by it. And his comments were so blatant. And that's the thing, like, does he not know that people would be upset?
When I first saw the clip, I was like, oh no, don't say that.
Do you guys think he got anything wrong by these comments?
Every artistic endeavor struggles. We don't look at the culinary world as like a industry that's struggling because everyone likes to eat and everyone likes to go out. But restaurants open and close all the time. They can barely stay open for, more than 5 years most of the time. And that's because it's a difficult industry. And that doesn't mean it's a dying art. Like, everyone still loves it. Framing it like, oh, opera and ballet are a dying art and I don't want the movies to be like that is kind of like, well, the movies are that too. We're all struggling and trying to make people care about the thing that we care about. It's not that we don't struggle and that it isn't hard for companies to stay afloat.
Yeah, and we've seen it all. His industry isn't exempt from the struggle. There's a struggle in the film and acting industry too. Like, how many shows get cancelled after season 1 and season 2? How many actors are struggling and managing 400 jobs just to make their one movie? How many have made that one movie and struggling to get out of it? How many actors have been typecasted and can't break out of it? Like, I think the issue with his phrasing is that he made it seem like he was superior. Like, I wouldn't want to be in this industry because who cares about it anymore? Whereas you could argue the same for his industry. And there is a like disconnect of like, it can never be me. Even though right before that comment that he made about ballet and opera, they were literally talking about how their industry is changing and they're trying to keep up. It's just a bit like, what's going on? This has escalated so far. I don't think he anticipated the backlash, but then you have to think before you speak and accept what's going to happen. I don't think he's going to say anything. I think he's just going to like let it slide and hopefully people will forget. Otherwise, he would have said something by now for sure. I don't know if this will bring any action or change, not necessarily from Timothée Chalamet, but from people who claim to love ballet and opera so much? Are we going to actually put our money where our mouth is? Or is this just an opportunity to bash on a celebrity for having a ridiculous statement? So I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, this is Nuance. We're not trying to be black and white or right and wrong.